The first time I realized the power of the mind, I wasn't in a dojo. I wasn't standing across from an opponent. I was hiking on a mountain trail at dawn, my muscles crying, my lungs on fire from the hill. Every step grew heavier than the previous one. My body was telling me to quit, to go back, to opt for comfort over victory. But at that pivotal instant, something changed within me. A voice, sharp and authoritative, pierced the anguish. The body follows where the mind leads. I said it with every painful step. The body follows where the mind leads. My stride became more consistent. My breathing evened out. And while the mountain remained unchanged, while my muscles screamed, I knew in a moment that I would make it to the top. Not because my body had become stronger in that instant, but because my mind had decided, and my body had no option but to comply. That discovery transformed me. It wasn't about physical conditioning anymore. It was about learning the most potent weapon. We all carry not our fists, not our feet, but the battlefield of our own minds. You're hearing this right now because something within you knows there's more. More strength waiting to be tapped. More potential waiting to be unleashed. More life to be lived. You feel it, don't you? That restless energy that keeps you up at night. That voice that tells you you're meant for something more. You're right. But the journey I'm going to ask you to join me on isn't about becoming someone different. It's about peeling away everything that isn't really you. The majority of people spend their whole lives fleeing from themselves. They construct great cages of comfort, of routine, of limitation, and then they live within these prisons of their own creation, wondering why they are trapped. They blame conditions, other people, bad luck, everything except the true designer of their confinement, their own minds. I want you to picture something with me. Picture your mind as a great landscape, with roads both traveled and untrod. The roads you've walked 1,000 times your habits, your responses, your well-worn patterns of thought. These are like deep grooves cut into the earth. They're easy to follow because you've followed them before. But what about the rest of the landscape? What about the territories you've never had the courage to explore? This is the tragedy of most lives. Not that they fail, but that they never stray from these trodden paths. They never find out what exists beyond the horizons of their comfortable thinking. I'll tell you about one of the students who arrived at my Oakland school. He was a physical standout, quick, powerful, with natural ability that made his peers jealous. But he wasn't performing. During sparring, he would take over for a few minutes, then out of nowhere slow down, retreat, beat himself up before his partner could. I saw this behavior for weeks. One day after class, I asked him a simple question. What are you afraid of? He laughed it off. He laughed it off at first. I'm not afraid, he insisted. But I remained silent, waiting. Finally, his smile faded, and the truth emerged. My father, he whispered, he was a fighter too, undefeated in his hometown. Until one fight, when he hurt another man so seriously, the man never fought again. My father never entered a ring again. He told me over and over, control yourself, never lose control. I nodded, comprehending it all. So when you catch yourself winning, you hear his voice. You back off. Not because you're scared of losing, but because you're scared of losing, but because you're scared of winning too totally. His eyes welled up with tears. He had never realized this himself, but now that it was said out loud, he knew the unseen chain that had been restraining him for years then. This is what I refer to as the battlefield of the mind. This young man was not constrained by his physical limitations. He was constrained by a pattern of thought so deeply embedded he didn't even know it existed. His body was merely responding to where his mind was taking him. But here's the freeing truth. Once you can observe these mental patterns, you can alter them. The same mind that designed your limitations can destroy them. I helped this student develop a new mental path. Before every game, he would tell himself, control isn't the absence of power, control is the mastery of power. He came to view his strength not as something to be ashamed of and stifled, but as something precious to be directed. Within months, he was transformed, not because his body had changed, but because his mind had charted a new course for his body to follow. Your life today, your successes, your weaknesses, your joys, your frustrations, all of it directly mirrors the journeys that your mind has been on. If you wish to have a different life, you need to first develop different thoughts. The body, the situation, the outside world will catch up. But this is where everyone goes wrong. They attempt to modify their mind through sheer will alone. They repeat empty affirmations. They indulge in wishful thinking. They convince themselves they're self-assured when they're fearful, successful when they're failures. This is not transformation, it's deception, and your own deeper mind will recognize it. Actual mental change does not start with informing yourself of new facts. It starts with understanding you as you really are, without judgment, without excuses, without the lies you've been telling yourself for years. That radical honesty is the starting point, and for many, it's also the most difficult. I recall my own moment of realization. I had already established myself as a successful martial artist. Others perceived me as invincible, fearless. But alone in my bedroom, late one evening, I faced the discrepancy between this public persona and my inner reality. The fears that would seep in prior to demonstrations, the stress I inflicted on myself to be perfect, the fear that someday someone would find out that I wasn't as amazing as they imagined. This wasn't weakness, this was truth. And confronting this truth didn't make me weaker, it was the source of true power. Because only when you accept the true battlefield can you start to develop a winning strategy. So your first challenge, if you accept this journey, is easy but deep. For the next 7 days, observe your own mind. Pay attention to your thoughts without attempting to change them. See the grooved pathways, the conditioned responses, the narratives you're telling yourself. Don't label these observations as good or bad. Just look at them for what they are, patterns, not permanents. Keep a journal if it makes you feel better. Record the things that restrict you. Record the things that restrict you. I'm not disciplined enough. I always give up when things get difficult. People like me don't go on to achieve things like that. These are not facts, they're thought constructs. And once you look at them clearly, they start to lose their hold on you. But to see the battlefield is only the first step. Now we have to learn to fight and win on this most critical ground. Let me tell you the 5 principles that revolutionized my own mental terrain, that enabled me to overcome obstacles others believed insurmountable. These are not abstract ideas, they are tools of action for your mental toolkit. The first principle, empty your cup. I like to tell students this ancient Zen anecdote. A professor at a university went to see a legendary Zen master to study Zen. While the master was pouring tea, he continued pouring even after the cup was filled and the liquid spilled over onto the table. The professor could not help it. "It's full. No more will go in," the master said. "Such as this cup, you are filled with your own views and hypotheses. How can I illustrate Zen to you unless you first empty your cup? Your mind is like this cup. It's already full of conclusions about what you can and cannot do, who you are and aren't. These are not absolute truths, they're beliefs that have been built up, many of which were taught to you by others or created in times of past limitation. To empty your cup is to come at each day, each problem, with what Zen masters refer to as beginner's mind. It is to release your expert self, your history of failure, your fixed identity. It is to be open to the possibility that everything you think you know about your abilities may be incorrect. This is not simple. The ego holds on to what it knows. What it knows. It would prefer to stay in comfortable limitation rather than move into unknown possibility. But growth occurs at the periphery of your comfort, not in its secure center. Every morning this week, start your day with this brief meditation. Picture your mind as a cup, full of yesterday's thoughts, yesterday's restrictions, yesterday's sense of self. Now picture turning this cup over, spilling out its contents entirely. Feel the lightness, the openness, the pure potential that is left. From this blank slate, anything is possible. The second principle, be like water. Water is the universe's softest, most malleable material, yet it can break through stone. How? Not by fighting, but by persistence and by flexibility. Water doesn't battle the rock. It bends around it, under it, through its tiniest openings. It doesn't wrestle with gravity. It yields to it, seeking the path of least resistance that nature has ordained. Your mind can be like water as well. When you find yourself facing an obstacle, a constraint, a fear, a setback, don't use raw mental strength to muscle past it. This tends to make resistance more entrenched. Instead, move around it. Find an alternative view. Ask new questions. Shift your strategy. I learned this principle out of necessity. Being a Chinese man attempting to impart a revolutionary style of martial arts in America during the 1960s, I encountered immeasurable obstacles, cultural bias, opposition from traditional martial arts schools, even hostility from people who believed I was divulging secrets best left unspoken. Had I confronted these challenges directly with hostility or aggression, I would have been defeated before I started. Instead, I adapted like water. When one avenue was shut, I used another. When blamed for instructing non-Chinese students, I didn't fight back. I just showed them the strength of my teachings. When Hollywood wasn't yet prepared for an Asian leading man, I went back to Hong Kong to make movies that eventually altered minds in America. Water never disputes with barriers, it just goes about it another way. And in the process, it ultimately recrafts even the most daunting topographies. When you find resistance in your head, that voice of impossible, that fear of retreat, that doubt of you're not enough, don't battle them head on, don't debate with them. That just empowers them more. Instead, flow like water towards what you desire, discovering the path of possibility, no matter how thin it may seem at first. The third principle, use no way as well. Most individuals are always looking for the right, the ideal system, the final methodology that will fix everything. They hop from one system to another, one guru to another, hoping to discover the magic formula. But this seeking itself becomes another trap, another limitation. In creating Jeet Kune Do, I reached a revolutionary conclusion. The greatest method is to have no method, The moment you totally commit to one approach, you become its captive. Real freedom, real power lies in staying formless, capable of adjusting to any given situation without being bound by strict thinking. This does not equate to having no principles or foundations. It means those foundations are thoroughly internalized, so much a part of your being that they can manifest spontaneously in the most effective manner for each individual moment. When confronting your mental obstacles, avoid getting fixated on one method. If positive thinking is not working, experiment with strategic pessimism. If visualization fails to penetrate, experiment with physical movement. If meditation fails to quiet your mind, experiment with rigorous physical activity. Employ no way as way. Have no limitation as limitation is limitation. The fourth principle, grasp the power of proper tension. In physical conditioning, one of the most important but neglected aspects is correct tension. Too much tension, and your movements are stiff, slow, energy wasting. In too little tension, and you don't have the structural integrity to produce power. The mastery lies in using just the right amount of tension exactly where and when you need it. Your mind works on the same principle. Too much mental tension, what we all tend to call stress, anxiety, overthinking, and your thinking becomes rigid, circular, inefficient. Too little mental tension, apathy, disengagement, passivity, and you don't have the focus and energy to produce meaningful change. Sweet spot is what I define as relaxed readiness, a place where your mind is both calm and alert, both peaceful and potent. Here, you're not overthinking, but you're fully immersed. You're not coercing solutions, but you're actively looking for them. You're not stressed, but you're fully present. This equilibrium can't be attained based on intellectual comprehension. It needs to be practiced, sensed, experienced firsthand. That's why I include moving meditation in my routine. Easy, mindful movement, even walking. If done with utter awareness, can instruct your mind this aspect of easy readiness better than any quantity of book learning. It might be walking, stretching, or just simple martial arts forms if you happen to know them. The movement itself is less important than the quality of attention you apply to it. Experience the exact balance between effort and ease, between engagement and relaxation, This bodily experience becomes a model for your mind to imitate. The fifth and last principle, nurture emotional content. In one of my most well-known scenes, I scold a student by informing him that his technique is devoid of emotional content. This isn't merely about fighting, it's about life. Technique without feeling is hollow. Knowledge without heart is impotent. Mental strategy without real feeling is merely sophisticated deception. Most techniques of mental mastery commit a basic flaw. They attempt to sidestep emotion instead of working with. They show you how to suppress fear instead of subverting it, to ignore pain instead of getting knowledge from it, to disavow anger instead of diverting it. There is no real mental mastery to be gained by dissociating from your emotions. Mental mastery is gained by creating such intimacy with them that they are sources of information and energy, not things to be overcome. Who, for example, is not your nemesis. It's an evolutionary blessing, a warning sign that something important is on the line. The issue isn't experiencing fear. It's being unaware of how fear is impacting your thoughts and choices. As soon as you realize fear is merely information, not a directive, you are able to pull its insight without being driven by its panic. The same is true with all feelings. Anger can tear down, or it can drive good action. Sadness can incapacitate, or it can deepen your ability to empathize. Joy can be superficial distraction, or it can be a confirmation of your true course. Emotional content is about bringing your whole humanity to your mind training. It is about connecting not only with thoughts, but with the emotions that give those thoughts their power and significance. Every day this week, spend some time asking yourself, what am I feeling right now? Don't think about it or judge the response. Just recognize it. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling uncertain. This easy exercise of emotional awareness starts to change your relationship with these powerful forces that shape so much of your mental work. These 5 principles: emptying your cup, being like water, using no way as way, understanding proper tension, and cultivating emotional content are the building blocks of mental mastery. But principles without practice are just ideas. So let me now tell you the daily training routine that will turn these concepts into lived experience. First, the morning mindset ritual. The way you start your day determines the course for all that will happen later. Most individuals' initial awareness thoughts are defensive, reacting to the alarm, considering next duties, picking up yesterday's worries. This is a matter of getting into a battle already on the back foot. Rather, take the first few moments of wakefulness for conscious mental guidance. Before you check your phone, before you get entangled in other people's projects, take only 5 minutes to set your mind's compass for the day. Start with emptying your cup, shedding yesterday's thinking, worries, and limitations. Next, mindfully select the most important quality you want to represent today. Perhaps it's courage, discipline, compassion, creativity, or whatever virtue today's challenge is asking of you. Don't simply say it, feel it. Recall past experiences when you've represented this quality in the past. See yourself bringing it forth in the rest of your day. This is not magical thinking or positive affirmations. It's conditioning your mind to see and amplify certain characteristics that are already present in you. It's giving your mind good direction so your body has a sense of where to go. Second, breaking pattern recognition. Throughout the day, you will find triggers that trigger your limiting thought patterns. Someone criticizes your work, and your mind immediately goes down the familiar path of inadequacy. You are presented with a challenging problem, and immediately the voice of doubt speaks up. You think about taking a risk, and fear comes up with all the possible negative consequences. The secret to becoming proficient with these moments is pattern disruption. The second you see one of these old, restrictive thought patterns creeping up on you, physically disrupt it. Get up if you're sitting. Flip your facial expression. Breathe 3 deep breaths. Rock your body in a manner that disrupts the mental cycle. This physical disruption is an opportunity for the moment of decision, a millisecond in which you can steer your mind down the new avenue instead of continuing on the habitual rut of limitation. In that introduction, right away, shift your focus by inquiring empowering questions. Not, why does this happen to me again? But what can I learn from this? Not why am I so anxious, but how can I use this energy constructively? Not what if I am a failure, but how will I manage success? The questions you ask yourself are the strongest drivers of your mental concentration. Most individuals unwittingly ask disempowering questions all day, then become puzzled as to why their minds take them to disempowering locations. Third, the power of physical mental integration. One of the most destructive myths of contemporary living is that mind and body exist as two different things. This false dichotomy begets false constraints. Your physical condition has a direct influence on your mental ability, and your mental concentration has a direct influence on your physical ability. Daily, do at least 20 minutes of physical activity that necessitates total mental involvement. It could be martial arts, yoga, dancing, or even just walking with awareness. The point is that the activity must involve physical movement and mental attention. Throughout this practice, be mindful of how your thoughts influence your movements and how your movements influence your thought. Observe how mental distraction instantly reduces physical performance. Observe how physical tension mirrors mental stress. Observe how clear mental focus increases physical ability. This isn't exercise, it's a laboratory for learning about the mind-body connection that controls every part of your life. What you learn in these 20 minutes will carry over to everything else you do. Fourth, the evening reflection practice. As crucial as how you start your day is how you end it. Most individuals end their days either by dulling their minds with entertainment or by letting worries about tomorrow rob their rest. Either way, they squander a valuable chance for mental growth. Instead, use the last 10 minutes of your day intentionally in reflective contemplation. Walk through the day's experiences as a wondering scientist, not a judging one. Where did your mind benefit you? Where did old habits prevail? What trigger activated constraints? What little successes indicated forward momentum? The secret to this exercise is keeping the thought pattern of an interested observer, not a critical judge. You're collecting data, not laying blame. You're seeing patterns, not assessing your worth. Next, intentionally let go of the day entirely. Imagine putting all today's worries, successes, and learning in a mental vessel and putting it down. The next day is a new battlefield, and you'll fight it best with a head that doesn't hold yesterday's baggage. Lastly, as you wind down for the night, sow one valuable seed in the rich soil of your subconscious mind. Pose it as a question instead of a command. How can I infuse tomorrow's obstacles with more courage? How can I progress my most critical project with imagination and clarity? Your unconscious mind will process these questions during sleep and typically come up with insights and answers not accessible to your conscious mind. These daily routines, morning mindset ritual, pattern interruption, physical mental integration, and evening reflection constitute the foundation training regimen for mental mastery. Similar to physical training, their efficacy does not derive from sporadic maximal effort, but from steady daily practice. Small steps taken with awareness over time lead to deep transformation. First, recognize that improvement is not always direct or immediately apparent. Just as water gradually wears away rock by constant contact, your mind will change through constant practice, at times in ways you won't even notice at first. There are going to be days of clear breakthrough, where you experience the thrill of shattering old patterns and the joy of new freedom. There will be days of seeming regression, where old limitations look as powerful as ever. Both are part of the process. The breakthroughs indicate what is possible. The challenges expose what still requires attention. It does not suggest that the things outside yourself are not relevant or that no true difficulties arise. It indicates that your response to, understanding of, and movement through those conditions is always your mind. If this feels daunting, consider it from another angle. If your limitations were actually set by genetics, upbringing, circumstances, or anything else outside of your control, then no effort would bear fruit. But your own experience has already refuted this many times over. You have already overcome limitations you once believed permanent. You have already surpassed capabilities you once believed fixed. Each major expansion in your life, physical, intellectual, emotional, or spiritual, occurred because your mind first established a new way, and your body, your situation, your world followed. This is both the challenge and the promise of the principle that the body follows where the mind leads.